Okay, the shiur is dedicated to Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. Okay, hi. Okay, so here's a somewhat belated question, but it's still an interesting question. Dear Rebbetzin Heller, I had a difficult Purim this year. I know that many people say it's a mitzvah to get drunk on Purim. I've seen the Shulchan Aruch, Ramah, Mishnah Berurah inside. I've heard speeches about how wine removes the barrier of da'as so that one can connect to Hashem. That getting drunk is part of the avodah of Purim. I'm not convinced. My father's a Talmid Chacham. He does not get drunk on Purim, and he frowns on those who do. He drinks a little and naps, like the Ramah says. I know from stories from my grandparents that people did not get dead drunk the way they do today. When did this mitzvah get so out of hand? At what point did it become a mitzvah that's more important than kavod habrios, for yourself and the people around you? I've been married for 2 years. I do not like drinking, as you could probably tell. But I know it's important to my husband, so I don't make a big issue of it. Last year, my husband got mildly drunk, and we had an enjoyable Purim. This year, he got very drunk, so drunk that he threw up in our host's bathtub. Although he tried to clean it up, he couldn't succeed. After all, he was drunk. And I ended up cleaning up after him. I'm so upset. The whole scene disturbs me. The drunk men at the Suda, including my husband, the screaming, the crying, the smell. I do not like the smell of alcohol. And most of all, the vomiting. I don't believe that this is what Purim is supposed to be. Do you think it is? Also, how can I prevent this from happening again? Please do not respond that when men are Yirei Shamayim, it's different. My husband and his friends are in yeshiva. They are Yirei Shamayim. They were talking, screaming, and crying about spiritual things. The Geula being a real person, Torah Hashem. But that does not make me feel any better. Thank you. Okay, so you really have two issues here, not just one. One is that you don't like drinking and its results, the vomiting, etc. And the other is this what people should do, have done, etc. They're not the same issue. Contrary to what your grandparents tell you, okay, as long as I remember and as long as people in my parents' generation remember, many people have gotten drunk in Purim. So drunk that back in Europe, in virtually all of the fine yeshivas, they would appoint someone not to be drunk, to be the Purim Rav, so that somebody is, has their head on their shoulders if any emergency or any serious halachic question would arise. Obviously, the implication of that is that the rest of the people did not have their heads on their shoulders, did not just take a little nap from which they could be awoken and come to. I know there are many stories about Rav Sonnenfeld, who would often use Mishalim of the Purim Rav to describe things that happened in other contexts. So this is not something new that started when people had enough money to buy fine alcohol. This is something that's probably as old as Nes Purim. So with that in mind, the question would be your feelings about it. As you've seen from the Shulchan Aruch, Ramah, and Mishnah Berurah, you don't have to get drunk under the table screaming drunk, but people do. So it's an option. So this is what I want you to realize. It's a legitimate option. It's a legitimate option. It's not self-indulgent. It's not without tradition. It's a legitimate option. And as you said, when men who were Yirei Shamayim were drunk, and I'm quoting you, they were talking, screaming, and crying about spiritual things. The Geula being a real person, Torah Hashem. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's for. That's what taking away the mechitz of dat is about. And for many people, their natural constraints would not let them come to that place without drinking. So that's the issue. Now we have the other side of it, which is you don't like cleaning up after it, and you don't like the smell, and you don't like the screaming, or whatever. That's your feelings about it. That's not the issue itself. So, you're not going to like my answer, so be ready. In life, there are many things that are messy. Birth is messy. My late father-in-law was a taxi driver for an amount of time in his life, and a woman once gave birth in his taxi. So mazel tov, and everybody is healthy. But there was a lot involved in getting the taxi ready for the next passenger, if you understand what I mean, several days worth. So that's life. There are other things that are messy. Babies themselves are messy. Okay, now why Hashem couldn't make a world that's antiseptically clean and sweet smelling is a reasonable question. But first see this within the context of what the world is. A reasonable counter-argument would be that birth isn't a choice and babies don't choose to be babies. They don't choose to make messes. It's their nature, while being drunk on Purim is a choice. But as I said, it is a legitimate choice. It's not a necessary choice, but it is a legitimate choice. So, one of the reasons that Hashem didn't make everything rosy, sweet-smelling, and antiseptic, even the human need for elimination is quite repulsive, is because part of what we have to experience in life is conscientiously choosing that which is